Why doing nothing makes him chase you? The power of energetic absence. What if I told you that the most powerful way to make a man chase you is by doing absolutely nothing? Not texting him, not checking if he saw your stories, not asking how his day is going. Nothing. It sounds contradictory, doesn't it? But this is where Carl Jung's teachings come in. When you withdraw your energy from someone, you stop feeding their ego and begin to reveal their true intentions. This isn't manipulation. It's not a game. It's power. Your power. Most women don't realize that their constant emotional, mental, and spiritual availability doesn't make them seen. It makes them invisible. Not because they lack value, but because they never give a man the chance to experience what it feels like to miss them. In psychology, Jung called this projection. We pour our light into someone, hoping they'll reflect it back. But when you stop giving and start receiving, something wild happens. He begins to chase you. So even if you're only half listening right now, let this sink in. Your subconscious already knows the truth. You've been giving too much, and now it's time to let him put in the effort. 1. Energetic power. Why ignoring works? Better than chasing. Here's the truth no one tells you. Men don't fall in love when you give them everything. They fall in love when they feel the absence of what you once gave so effortlessly. Think of it this way. Humans are wired to chase. Carl Jung once said, what we chase represents unconscious parts of ourselves, a desire, a fear, a wound. So when you pull back, when you ignore him the right way, you stop being a source of emotional validation, and you become a mystery his mind needs to solve. And mystery is magnetic. Chasing a man is born out of fear. Fear of losing him. Fear of being forgotten. Fear of not being enough. But when you turn that energy inward, when you stop trying to be chosen, everything changes. You become scarce, and scarcity creates value. Have you noticed how the least interested people often get the most attention? It's not because they're cruel or toxic. It's because their energy isn't needy. They don't need you, and that's powerful. That's energetic power. You don't have to say anything. Your absence says it all. When you chase, you confirm he's the center of your world. When you stop, he starts to wonder, why isn't she after me anymore? Did I mess up? Is she with someone else? And just like that, you begin to live in his head, rent-free. This isn't about being cold or distant. It's about redirecting your energy. Instead of pouring into him, pour it into yourself. Your peace, your growth, your silence. That speaks louder than any "I miss you" ever could. And remember this, ignoring isn't rude. It's simply choosing not to be available for what doesn't nourish you. When you understand your worth, you stop trying to prove it. You embody it. And that's when he begins to feel the emptiness you left behind. 2. Stop feeding his ego. The power of emotional absence. There's something men rarely admit, but many women sense. They love being chased. Because it feeds their ego. Every time you reply instantly, every time you check in, every time you break the silence first, you are not reconnecting. You're reinforcing his sense of control. But Jung warned us, when we give too much of ourselves without receiving in return, we are not being loving, we are being unconscious. You are acting from an old pattern, a pattern rooted in fear, not love. And here's the truth. Most men aren't narcissists, but many do get used to the comfort of being desired. And when that attention disappears, something inside them panics. Because suddenly, you are no longer there to reflect back how important they are. You're absent. And that absence is not just silence. It's a direct challenge to his ego. He may not miss you at first. He misses the version of himself that felt powerful in your presence. But here's where everything shifts. When you stop feeding his ego, when you reclaim your energy, when you walk away not to punish, but to protect your peace, that's when he begins to chase. Not because you demanded it, but because your absence revealed your value in a way your presence never could, let your silence be sacred. Let your energy be rare, and let him earn the access you once gave so freely. That's not manipulation. That's self-worth in motion. The power of absence. Why silence speaks louder than words. If all he ever wanted was your attention, he'll disappear the moment he stops getting it. But if you truly matter to him, he'll come looking. He'll seek you out. Because your absence becomes a filter, a quiet force that separates real interest from ego-driven need. Carl Jung once said that we all wear masks, personas that hide our true selves. When you're always available, you feed the mask, you validate the surface. But when you withdraw your attention, you don't just step back from him. You strip away the illusion. And what's left underneath? Discomfort, confusion, a quiet unraveling of ego. That is your power. How do you stop feeding his ego without being cruel? Simple. Don't reply immediately. Don't initiate conversations. Don't explain your silence. Don't post stories just so he'll see them. Let your absence speak. Let your mystery breathe. You're not here to convince a man of your worth. The right man will see it in your presence, but he'll prove it in your absence. When you stop giving so much, something beautiful happens. Your energy resets. You stop begging for crumbs. You become the whole table. And suddenly, the one who thought he had you secured realizes he may have lost. The best thing that ever happened to him, the power of silence. When you ignore, you say more than you think. Many women believe they must speak to be heard, that they must explain themselves to be taken seriously. But Carl Jung said, the soul expresses itself in what is not said. Silence isn't emptiness. It's tension. It's mystery. It's the seed of doubt. And for a man used to having constant access to you, that silence is like an emotional alarm. Suddenly, he can't predict you. He doesn't know what you're thinking. And that uncertainty, it drives him crazy. What's taken for granted is eventually lost. But what disappears without explanation becomes an obsession. When you choose not to react, not to respond, not to intervene, you create space. And in that space, he's forced to reflect. Where did I go wrong? Why isn't she chasing me anymore? What changed? And through that process, not only does he begin to value you more, he must also confront his own emotional immaturity. Jung called this confronting the shadow, the side of ourselves we avoid, deny, and hide. And when you walk away in silence, he can't help but face the discomfort he feels. It's not about you. It's about him, his ego, his shadow, his reflection. That's why silence is not punishment. It's revelation. Every message you don't answer, every call you don't return, every moment you choose your peace over pleasing him is a quiet, unwavering statement. I'm no longer playing this game. I'm no longer dancing with your ego. I've chosen myself. You don't need to block him. You don't need to leave him unread out of anger. You don't even need to explain. Just disappear in the calmest, most grounded way possible. Not to manipulate, not to punish, but to honor the woman you've become, a woman who no longer chases someone who never truly saw her. Because when he feels that emptiness, he will react. But by then, you'll know. It's no longer about him chasing you. It's about you no longer needing to be chased. The beauty of absence. How distance awakens desire and rebuilds self. Maybe he'll reach out with messages. Maybe with subtle jabs. Maybe with anger, disguised as passion. But don't get confused. That isn't love. That's his ego, grappling with the loss of something he thought would always be there. If he truly cares, he won't give up easily. But this time, you hold the power. You get to decide if he's still worth it. 4. Let him wonder. Create a void he wants to fill. One of the most elegant, powerful strategies is to let him ask the questions. When you are always available, always explaining, always fixing, he doesn't need to think. He doesn't have to reflect. You're doing the emotional work for both of you. But when you step away, no warnings, no explanations, no clues. Silence arrives, and silence fills with questions. Why did she pull away? What did I miss? Did I lose her? That uncertainty, that mental tension, that's what makes him come back. Carl Jung once wrote, "The unconscious moves through symbols." And when you walk away without drama, without closure, without performance, you become a symbol, an enigma, something he doesn't understand, but desperately wants to. Men don't chase what's obvious. They chase what makes them think, what unsettles them, what creates curiosity. If he knows you'll always be there, he has no reason to move. But if one day your energy shifts, your replies slow down, your warmth fades, your presence recedes, something inside him gets activated, he starts rereading old messages, revisiting your photos, replaying your voice in his mind, wondering, did I make a mistake? That void you created, it now weighs on him. But here's the most important part. Don't be the one to fill it. Let him try. Let him reach. Let him wander. Because if you rush to explain his emotions, if you rush to soothe his uncertainty, you break the spell. This isn't about games. It's about clarity. Who is willing to move toward you without being pulled? And if he comes back with intention, not curiosity, not control, but real effort, then you're no longer chasing. You're receiving. That's when everything shifts. Your silence was the mirror. Your absence was the message. And if he wants your presence again, he'll have to prove he's learned the lesson. Because you're not here to be an option, a placeholder, a source of easy validation. You are here to be chosen with intention. And if that requires you to walk away, to disappear without noise or bitterness, then that silence will be the greatest act of your self-love, the attraction of emotional distance. When you disconnect, you shine. There's a quiet, haunting beauty in the woman who walks away, not with fury, not with pain, but with grace. She doesn't need to explain. She doesn't shout. She doesn't retaliate. She simply leaves. And no, it's not coldness. It's evolution. Carl Jung called this individuation the sacred process of becoming whole, of separating from external expectations, to return to a purest essence. When you walk away from a man who couldn't give you what you deserve, you're not just letting him go. You're finding your way back to yourself. The validation you once sought in him, you begin to find it within, and with that shift, your energy changes. You stop waiting. You stop hoping. You stop asking. And you begin to shine, not for attention, but from alignment. You become the woman who puts on her lipstick for herself, laughs alone at dinner, falls asleep without checking her phone, dances barefoot in her living room, with no one watching. That woman is complete, not because someone chose her, but because she chose herself, and he will feel it. Even if he never says a word, he'll feel it. He'll notice the change in your energy, the way you no longer orbit around him, the way your silence now holds more power than your affection ever did. You are no longer waiting for him to become the man you hoped for. You've become the woman you always were. And the irony? The distance that once felt like loss becomes a magnet, because now you don't need him. And that kind of confidence, that kind of wholeness is magnetic. Men can feel it. When a woman no longer revolves around them, they can't explain it. They can't shake it. But suddenly, they miss her more than ever. Not because she's gone, but because she's grown. And now, they're chasing what they never truly had. But here's what matters most. You didn't walk away. So he will come back. You walked away. So you could come back to yourself. And if he returns, let it be because he finally saw your value. Not because his ego felt wounded. Not because he lost control. But because through your absence, he finally recognized what your presence truly meant. Let it be because he wants to grow with you, not because he's losing control. Let it be because he wants to grow with you, not because he can't stand losing control. You are not here to beg for love. You are not here to shrink, to perform, to plead. You are here to attract love from your wholeness. So yes, disconnect. Not to punish him, but to reconnect with yourself. And you'll see your light, the one no one can touch, begins to glow again, begins to attract exactly what your soul deserves. Set boundaries without saying a word. We often think boundaries must be spoken, that we must explain, justify, repeat ourselves until we're hoarse from trying to be understood. But the most powerful boundaries are not declared. They are lived. Carl Jung said, "What is not brought into consciousness returns as fate." What does that mean? It means if you don't become aware of your worth, you'll keep attracting people who don't see it. So when you choose to walk away, not in anger, not with drama, but with peace, you're setting a real boundary, one that doesn't need words, not replying to messages without intention, not accepting last-minute invitations, not being available for someone who only shows up when it's convenient. Each quiet no is a bold declaration of your value. It says, with me, it's all or nothing. That's self-respect. Because you can say, I deserve more, 1,000 times. But if your actions continue to tolerate the bare minimum, he won't take your words seriously. Not because he's cruel, but because you've shown him that your love is negotiable. And real love is not energetic. Boundaries are actions, not words. Boundaries are not what you say. They are what you allow. If he texts you at midnight and you reply instantly, that's your boundary. If he flirts with other women and you still forgive him without change or accountability, that's your boundary. Not what you claim to believe, but what you consistently accept. When a man feels he no longer has the same access to you, he knows something has shifted. And that something is you. You're no longer playing second place, no longer settling for emotional crumbs, no longer waiting for him to give you the place you've learned to give yourself. And the most powerful part, you don't have to announce it. You don't have to perform it. You simply act differently. And that quiet detachment is what unsettles the male ego the most. A woman who walks away without rage, without begging, without making a scene. A woman who is simply no longer available. That kind of energy is not forgotten. It leaves a mark, a silence that echoes. Because more than any words, you've spoken through your absence. I'm not here to settle. I'm not here to shrink. I'm not here for less than I deserve. And that clarity, that calm, radiant strength is your boundary. Let him come to you, the final test of intention. After everything you gave, after all the emotional labor, after every second chance, isn't it time he does something for you? Carl Jung said, when you stop acting from fear, you begin to see reality as an island. And that applies to love, too. When you stop insisting, stop being the one who always reaches out, stop leading the dance, the truth appears. Is he here for you or just for what you give him? When you stop wondering if he cares, when you stop checking your phone, when you stop shrinking to be enough and you focus on yourself, your life, your healing, your peace, he feels the shift. He notices the silence. He senses the change in the air. And now he has two choices. He can rise and meet you at the level of your worth, or he can fade into the shadows, where half-hearted love goes to die. But either way, you win, because your power was never in his return. It was in your decision to walk away, before you had to lose yourself. Let it be because he chooses growth. Let it be because he finally saw your value. But most of all, let it be because you chose yourself first. The final move, the power of stillness. He will do one of two things: let you go or go after you. And that reaction says everything, because the one who wants to stay, stays. The one who wants to see you makes it happen. And the one who truly values you doesn't wait for your silence to finally give you the place you always deserved. But to witness that truth, you have to do the hardest thing of all. Stay still. No signals. No late night stories hoping he'll watch. No carefully timed posts. No emotional breadcrumbs. No games. Just silence. He will feel it. He will know something has shifted. And if he truly cares, he'll respond. Not with empty words, but with action. He will come to you with clarity, with intention, with a desire to build something real, not just to regain control of what he thought was his. And if he doesn't come, that's okay too. Because in that silence, you will have gained something far greater. Freedom. The freedom to stop pouring your heart into someone who doesn't know how to hold it. The freedom to reclaim your energy, your time, your power. Because when you make this final move, the one where you stop moving, everything changes. You are no longer in waiting mode. You are no longer in seeking mode. You are in queen mode. And in that space, only what nourishes you is allowed to stay. If you've made it this far, know this: it was never because of him. It was because of you. Because something within you is awakening. A deeper wisdom, a stronger voice, a softer strength. The woman who no longer settles. The woman who no longer gives everything out of fear of losing something. The woman who is finally, fearlessly choosing herself. Carl Jung said, "Don't hold on to those who walk away from you, so that those who wish to come closer can." And that's what this is about. Not about making him chase you. Not about manipulating outcomes. This is about reminding you you are worthy of being chosen. Freely, fully, unconditionally. When you stop chasing, you stop shrinking. You stop performing. And in that stillness, you start to attract what your soul has always deserved. So if this message spoke to you, subscribe for more content that speaks of you and to you. Let me know in the comments what part resonated the most. And remember, your silence is more powerful than you think. I'll see you in the next one.